If you're planning to watch Avengers Doomsday, stop right here, because if you haven't watched the right Marvel movies beforehand, there's a very good chance you'll have absolutely no idea what's happening once the movie starts. Now I know what you're thinking. There's no way I'm watching 50 Marvel movies and Disney Plus shows just to understand one film. And honestly, you don't have to, because today I'm going to show you the only 6 Marvel projects you actually need to watch before Avengers Doomsday. These 6 stories contain almost everything you need to understand Doctor Doom, the multiverse, incursions, and the future of the MCU. And trust me, the last recommendation is by far the most important one. Without it, you'll miss one of the biggest setups for Doomsday. So don't skip this video, because if you're skipping a video that only recommends 6 Marvel projects, then maybe Doomsday isn't the movie for you. Anyway, let's get started with the very first recommendation. Number 1, Loki, Season 1 and Season 2. Our first recommendation is Loki. Now technically, it's not a movie. It's a Disney Plus series with 2 seasons and a total of 12 episodes. But don't let that fool you, because this show is probably the single biggest pillar of Avengers, Doomsday. If you want to understand how the multiverse actually works, you need to watch Loki, because this series completely rewrites the rules of the MCU. So here are the biggest things you need to understand from this show. First, you're introduced to the Time Variance Authority, also known as the TVA. This organization exists outside of time itself. Its entire job is to monitor every timeline and protect the multiverse from complete chaos. And once different universes begin colliding in Avengers Doomsday, the TVA will most likely become one of the most important organizations in the entire story. The second major concept is the destruction of the sacred timeline. At first, only one timeline existed, but now that single timeline has split into countless branches, and every single branch has become an entirely different universe. Finally, the ending gives us one of the biggest moments in MCU history. Loki becomes the god of stories. Using his divine powers, he grabs every dying timeline, holds them together, and transforms them into a massive multiversal tree. Now Loki sits at the very center of the multiverse, keeping every universe alive. So if there's only one Marvel series you watch before Doomsday, make it Loki, because in my opinion, it's still one of the greatest Marvel shows ever made. But Loki only explains how the multiverse exists. The next movie shows what happens when someone starts breaking its rules. Number 2, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. After Loki, the next project you absolutely need to watch is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This movie is incredibly important because it introduces one concept that will become the foundation of Avengers, Doomsday, Incursions. An incursion happens when 2 different universes collide with each other, eventually causing one or even both universes to be completely destroyed. And based on everything Marvel has revealed so far, this is exactly the kind of disaster Doctor Doom is expected to exploit during Doomsday. The second reason this movie matters is Earth 838. For the first time, we see that another universe can have completely different versions of iconic heroes. Characters like Professor X and Reed Richards show us just how different alternate realities can become. Then comes the post-credit scene. Looking back now, that moment feels like one of the very first direct setups for Avengers Doomsday. Now here's where things get really interesting, because the next movie introduces a brand new multiverse rule, a rule that could literally decide whether an entire universe survives. And chances are, most Marvel fans still don't know it exists. Number 3, Deadpool and Wolverine. At first glance, this movie feels like pure fan service, but behind all the jokes, it's secretly building some of the biggest rules for Avengers Doomsday. The first concept it introduces is something called anchor beings. According to the movie, every universe has one incredibly important individual, an anchor being. If that person dies, their entire universe slowly begins to collapse. That's exactly why Logan's death causes Deadpool's universe to start falling apart. This isn't just another emotional moment. It's Marvel introducing a brand new multiversal rule that could become incredibly important in Doomsday. The second major concept is the Void. The Void is basically a massive wasteland where the TVA dumps discarded timelines, deleted realities, and unwanted variants. Now think about this. If multiple universes are destroyed during Avengers Doomsday, where do all the surviving heroes go? Exactly. The Void could become the meeting point for heroes from countless different universes, and if that happens, expect absolute chaos. But while Deadpool explains what happens to dying universes, the next movie shows us something even more dangerous. What's happening to the MCU's own Earth? Number 4, Captain America, Brave New World. This movie shows us what Earth 616 looks like without Tony Stark and without Steve Rogers. And honestly, things are far from stable. One of the biggest takeaways from this film is adamantium. After the frozen celestial body becomes a source of this brand new metal, countries around the world begin fighting to control it. And if vibranium was already powerful, adamantium is presented as being even stronger, which means this resource could easily become one of the biggest reasons behind future global conflicts. Earth 616 is about to face threats that don't even belong to its own reality. And Sam Wilson realizes something terrifying. There aren't many Avengers left, so how is he supposed to defend an entire planet against threats from multiple universes? So if the original Avengers are gone, who's actually going to protect Earth? Well, Marvel's answer isn't another Captain America. It's a team nobody expected to become heroes. Thunderbolts or the new Avengers. This movie answers one of the biggest questions after Brave New World. If the old Avengers no longer exist, who steps in next? The answer: a group of anti-heroes. heroes. But there's a very dark twist. CIA Director Valentina sends these anti-heroes on what looks like a routine mission, but in reality, she expects every single one of them to die. As the mission unfolds, they discover the truth. They were never meant to come back alive. Instead of turning against each other, they decide to work together, and that's how this unexpected team is born. During their mission, they also meet Bob, better known as Sentry, or more importantly, the Void. Later, when the Void takes over New York City, this newly formed team defeats him together, not through overwhelming power, but through teamwork. And yes, the power of friendship actually becomes the key to saving the city. Because of that victory, these former anti-heroes suddenly become public heroes. The world finally has a brand new Avengers team. But then, Marvel drops one final surprise. 14 months later, during the post-credit scene, Sasa, the new Avengers are sitting inside their headquarters, while Sam Wilson is reportedly taking legal action over the use of the Avengers name. And then, an emergency alert suddenly appears from space, the Fantastic Four logo. That moment directly connects back to Samuel Stern's warning. The others are coming. Because now, heroes from completely different universes are officially entering Earth 616. And this is where the road to Doomsday truly begins. But even after all of that, there's still one movie left. And this one introduces the character who might become the single most important person in Avengers, Doomsday. Number 6. Finally, we arrive at the most important recommendation on this list. Fantastic Four: First Steps. This movie takes place in an alternate universe, Earth 828, set in a retro-futuristic version of the 1960s. But don't let that setting fool you. This film is essentially the launchpad for Avengers Doomsday. Of course, it introduces Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four, and explains how they gained their powers. But that's not the biggest reason you need to watch it. The biggest reason is one character, Franklin Richards. Franklin is the son of Reed Richards and Sue Storm, and according to the movie, he possesses reality warping abilities so powerful that he can even bring the dead back to life. His powers are so extraordinary that even Galactus attacks Earth 828 simply because he wants to consume Franklin's limitless power. The movie also introduces another crucial concept, a multiversal portal, to save both Franklin and their universe. The Fantastic Four send Galactus through an experimental teleportation portal into an unknown location somewhere in the multiverse. But before you jump into Doomsday, there's one last recommendation I want to give you. All of the 6 projects we just talked about are more than enough to understand Avengers Doomsday, but there's one bonus recommendation I'd still like to give you. As Marvel has officially confirmed, the X-Men are returning in Avengers Doomsday. So if you have a little extra time, I'd highly recommend watching Logan and X-Men Days of Future Past. But if you only watch these 6 Marvel projects, you'll understand almost everything you need before Avengers Doomsday. If this video helped you, leave a like. It seriously motivates me to keep making deep Marvel breakdowns like this.